Hello guys, I'm Sammy from hackerbot.net, and today I'm going to talk about a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and it's about how to inhibit large-scale cheating in your own online game if you're a developer or publisher or you work on a game in any way. So you might find it weird that I would be talking about this with me running a cheating website for online games, but I do realize that, especially if there are free cheats freely available for anyone for a certain game, that can lead to some problems for the community of the game itself, for the developers, and so on. So I just want to go over what you as a developer can do in order to minimize the chances that this happens to you. Now, first off, let me just say cheating is just something that's going to happen. You will never be able to totally annihilate it or get rid of it because sadly it is possible to cheat either by using any kind of bot or in some cases using hacks if you're processing certain things on your client, on the player's client. So how do you minimize the potential dangers that it can bring if a active cheater community develops around your game and consumes it? So let's go over that. And it's just my view, from the view of a cheater, more or less. And the way I see it, there are two categories of cheaters, okay? There are the toxic ones and the non-toxic ones. Now, usually, obviously, the toxic ones are the guys that run around with their aimbot enabled and shooting everybody from every angle possible, or the people that are running bot armies like this in order to compete with you as a developer or publisher of a game in an economic sense. So that's something you clearly do not want. You don't want people just annihilating the enemy team, because obviously that's no fun for them, and you don't want people trying to compete with you monetarily in the marketplace within the game. Now, as I've said before, the legal way to go is really difficult because you might catch people and then they might just relocate, restart their websites in a country where you have no legal access to them. So that's something that I do not recommend, aside obviously from all the expenses you're going to have, and you might not even win the case depending on the laws of a country and so on. So how do you try to inhibit cheating going on a large scale? Now, the first thing is obviously you need to release the game in a state where it's not absolutely broken, okay? So you need to have certain server checks. For example, teleporting hacks is something that's really popular these days. And you need to have server checks that inhibit people from just teleporting through your whole game and farming 24/7. Because once that happens, a lot of people catch on, a lot of scripters that, gain online reputation from creating hacks for other people for free, will jump on your game because it's this incredibly exploitable, and a huge community will develop around cheating in your game. And that is really where the root of the problem lies. If you release your game in a broken state, it's very likely, especially if your game is popular, that a huge community will come into being around cheating in your game. All right, so it's these first few months of a game that really that really decides whether there's going to be an active cheater community around it or not. So this is the most important thing that I would just recommend to any developer of any game. You need to make sure the game on release has server checks, and that you keep track of the free hacks and cheats that are out there. All right. Now, if you have a really popular game, there are going to be cheats out there. All right. It's just the way it works. A game is popular, a lot of people play it, a lot of people want to cheat. Chances are someone's going to code something for your game, and you need to blacklist and you need to ban those codes. You need to blacklist those hacks. You need to have some kind of anti-cheating software that allows you to ban these people using these specific free hacks, because it's the free hacks that really reach a lot of people. It's just the barrier of entry. If you need to pay $20 per month for a hack, 2% of people will use a cheat. If it's for free, 80% of people will use it if they find it. That's just the way it is. And I've seen game communities, I'm not gonna name names, but I've seen game communities where literally any player, it was a permadeath game, and any player ever that was serious about playing the game used a auto disconnect from the game in order to save their characters. Everyone. And then there were also hacked clients for that game, and cheating and playing the game was basically the same. Anyone that was serious about the game used a hacked client. That was just how it was, because it was that easy to cheat, and the cheats were freely available for free. Everybody could use them, and a huge community developed around those cheats. And I do not think that game ever recovered from that. Up to this day, the community of that game is just cheaters. Now, that can be good for you, but it can also be bad. In this case, it didn't really financially hurt the developer, because the cheaters spent money on their game, and they were okay with people cheating in their game. So as long as it makes money, that's okay. So you do want to inhibit cheats getting into the meta, so to speak, okay? Cheats must not be the meta. It must not be standard for pro players or for serious players to use cheats. Once that happens, you're pretty much screwed. It's really hard to come back from this. This particular game never really did, and it got that so far that even implementing anti-cheats hurt them financially, and they had to not do that. So that's how crazy it can get. Doesn't mean that it will necessarily financially hurt you or anything. It's just it might not be what you really want for your game. All right. So that's really the most important thing. At the beginning, once you launch the game, you need to be ready to counter these free cheats. Now, another thing that is really important, especially if you're running a shooter, is you need to have a simple way for people to report hackers. All right, a very simple way. I would recommend you just make it 2 clicks. Click the player, click report, done. All right. It needs to be easy, because else people are probably not going to do it. So you just need, after a game, after a match or whatever, you need to be able to click a player, click report, and I would recommend not even a third option, because your abandonment rate is going to go up. So just 2 clicks. And then this is obviously the new technology that has come up, which is server-side anti-cheating measures. In my opinion, the best, obviously in my opinion, is not very sophisticated when it comes to anti-cheating and so on, but I do believe it is one of the best ways to ban toxic cheaters, is server-side algorithms that keep track of player stats, and in combination with reports, simply soft ban them so that they're put into a different queue and are matched up with other cheaters or something along those lines. Maybe even permanently ban them. Now, obviously, statistics in shooters especially that you can keep track of are accuracy. Most cheaters will not bother even hiding their cheating, and just, have an accuracy rating of over 90% or something like that. And then combine that with maybe getting reported every other game, and you can automatically ban a player with a very simple algorithm, in my opinion. Or maybe soft ban them, maybe flag their account for review, or maybe just place a flag, and once they have 3 flags, they get banned. Alright? So I don't think it's a really complex algorithm, and there's companies out there like Fairfight that already have these algorithms that you can implement into your game. I don't think there's any open source algorithms for this, but you're a programmer. I guess you know how to create a simple algorithm. So I would recommend you do that, especially in a shooter. Now, the way Counter-Strike Global Offensive does it, in my opinion, is one of the best ways. Now, obviously, that's not something that every shooter can implement, but The way they do it, if you do not know about it, obviously, if you're a shooter developer, you probably will. Someone reports the cheater, and then players get to review the replay of that match in order to detect whether they're using visual assistants or ESP hacks or aimbots or whatever. And I think Counter-Strike Global Offensive is one of the best games when it comes to getting rid of cheaters that way. And it's a very natural way, and they even reward players for reviewing suspect players. That's a very good thing to do. Now, obviously, bans are not only negative. I mean, there obviously, if you're using an algorithm, there are false positives. You need to be aware of that. However, I would argue that there aren't going to be a lot of false positives. I mean, if you're using like 3 variables like accuracy when shooting and just reports, I mean, these 2 variables alone will be quite enough, because if a player gets reported regularly for cheating by maybe even multiple players on their own team or the enemy team, chances are they're cheating, alright? Chances really are they're cheating. Now, running a client-side anti-cheat like, what's it called, Punkbuster or something, alongside that, that's okay, I guess. But you really need to make sure that the Punkbuster people go check out the free cheats for your game and ban those codes. It's really important, because else, obviously, free cheats will attract a lot of people and the community develops and so on. Now, for MMOs and online games with bot armies that have, especially free-to-play games, obviously it's a huge business to ban, not to ban, but to farm gold in online games and MMOs and then sell that and they're farming using bot armies. Because obviously you can create accounts for free, and that's a profitable business for a lot of people. Now, how do you get rid of these bots? Now, obviously here, again, you need to have a very easy way for people to just report bots. It's very important, because if people see, if your average player sees a bot army, just 20 bots running around in your game and farming, either to sell gold or to sell accounts or whatever, they're going to want to report that because they feel that that's not right. However, if it's not easy, again, abandonment rate, they're not going to do it. If it's not easy, if it's not a 1 to 2 to 3 click thing that you do, then it's not going to happen usually. So you need to have a very easy way, again, for people to report bots. And that's very essential, because only for myself, speaking for myself, if I have to take a screenshot or a video and then mail that to a certain support address, I'm just not going to do it, because that's too much work for me to do. Okay, I need to turn on my fraps, and I need to take a screenshot, and most people don't even have fraps, so forget about it. It's not going to happen. People are not going to report bots manually, or a very small amount of people are going to do that. And again, then you can use a very simple algorithm, because obviously most of these bot users will run their software for 20 hours a day, 24 hours a day, or even just 16 hours a day. Suspicious. So you need to flag accounts that are online extremely often, combine that with reports about botting, and that way you're gonna get rid of a lot of bots. And obviously it's also very important to ban spam bots in your game. That's something a lot of developers really ignore, because spam bots is the way that these people make money. All right, their websites don't really rank that well usually, because they're pretty gray hat, black hat. And the way they get traffic to their sites to sell gold or to sell accounts or to boost or whatever, they're spamming your game. Okay, they're using bots to advertise their sites. Now, if you have a system in place to ban people that constantly spam your chat, again, I don't think it's that hard. You need to ban some words. You need to see how much an account chats, and if they're sending like 1,000 messages in an hour, that's really suspicious. And if they're doing that consecutively for 12 hours, ban them, or at least suspend them from using the chat, because that's how you're going to hurt these organized cheaters that are also in a ways competing with you. And yeah, a lot of developers really do not think about those things until their game is released and a year old or 2 years old, and they're done releasing all the end game stuff in order to keep people interested. But I would recommend that, and I don't think it's a huge thing to do. Just keeping some stats and having some simple algorithm to when it comes to chat usage or online time online and so on. But anyways, that's another way to get rid of bots in MMOs and MMORPGs. Yeah, so, and also keep in mind, as I've already said, there are always going to be cheaters, but you need to get rid of the toxic ones. You need to get rid of the ones that will grieve other players, that are using cheats to dominate other people. And in my opinion, that's quite easy to do because they're being very obvious about their cheating activity. They're your usual cheater isn't gonna do that because they know they're not making themselves any friends. They are putting their own account at risk. The reason why most cheaters use cheats or bots, hacks or bots, is in order to progress more quickly. Because using cheats always makes the game really boring. I mean, try it yourself if you like. Activate God mode in your own game, or activate, I don't know, an aimbot. The game's gonna get old really quickly because there's no challenge. Now, your average cheater knows that. And they only use, for example, aimbots in situations where they're being treated unfairly. If the enemy team is really unbalanced and just spawn camps them, that's when they might snap and use their aimbot. But there are those toxic cheaters that will use it just because they get some kind of kick out of harming other people, or just ruining their fun, or flaming them, and they think they're so cool. And I don't know, I don't actually understand why exactly they get such a huge kick out of it, but I would say they have psychological problems, and they're really the people that you're worried about. You want to get rid of these people. And they'll learn, and they'll try to be more tolerant towards other players. Yeah, so that's basically that. I don't know whether I've missed something. Server-side anti-cheating is definitely what you want to go for because it gets everything. It doesn't just get the free cheats that are blacklisted on a client-side anti-cheat, and I don't actually know exactly how anti-cheating works on the client and on the server. On the server, I'm a bit more familiar with it because it's obviously very similar to how Google does it. That you analyze statistics and then you ban or don't ban, or you soft ban, or you flag an account based on those statistics. And that is really the way to go. That's the future because it catches every kind of cheat, even the paid ones, if someone is abusing it. All right, and that's really the people you want to go after. The people that abuse cheats. Now, I would argue that the non-toxic, in brackets, in whatever, I'm from Switzerland, my English isn't perfect just yet. So, the non-toxic cheaters, what they'll do is, they will not play for all that long. There is barely a non-toxic cheater that will use hacks for hundreds and hundreds of hours. Because obviously cheating does make the game more boring, it does take away the challenge. And usually these people won't play your game all that long using cheats. They may just go back to playing it normally without cheats, or they will just use vision assistance hacks, which are a bit harder to report. And if you want to go against vision assistance, what you're gonna want to do is probably the thing that Global Offensive does. Now, yeah, that's basically that. As I've said, the most important thing is to get rid of the free hacks. The free hacks are really where your biggest problem is because they're available to everyone. And against what you might be thinking, if the average player of a game has a chance to get a cheat for free that allows them to perform better at your game and farm faster and so on, they will do it. I am very sorry to say that, but that's just the way it works. I have seen games where literally 50 to 80% of people have used hacks, and the only people that weren't using hacks or scripts were new players that didn't know about them. So yeah, it's in a way it's sad that people crave to cheat in games, but that's just the way it is. I guess this is just how the world works. People will try to achieve their goals no matter what. And obviously, cheating games is less serious and less awful than doing it in actual real life, but it does tell us something about the human psyche, doesn't it? And it's not necessarily something that we're proud of, but it's something you're gonna have to deal with if you have an online game and it is popular. Now, if your game isn't as popular, you don't really need to worry about that because the demand for cheats is lower and the chance of people cheating in your game isn't as high. So I wouldn't recommend if this is your first online game and maybe you have a few hundred players and so on, but it's not like a really huge bestseller on Steam or wherever you're selling it, then I would recommend, well, just, it's a small game, you don't need to invest a lot of time into this. Really, when you have to invest a lot of time into it is if you have, I don't know, I can't really put a number on it, but I would say if you have on average 10,000 concurrent players on your game and above, that is probably where it starts to become an issue. And obviously, if you have a huge game that has hundreds of thousands of concurrent players or even millions, then you need to worry about it. You need to worry about it just a little bit. And maybe just put a little bit of effort into it. Do a small algorithm that analyzes some statistics and then flag people or soft ban them. Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Because you want to get rid of those worst offenders that just use hacks to totally dominate everybody. And that's no fun for anyone. Yeah, so, in conclusion, cheating is human nature that's been around forever, and they will continue doing it as long as it is possible. And my guess is it will be possible until we actually start processing games on the server side, which is probably some ways away. So I wouldn't trust in technology to solve the problem for you. Maybe there will be a huge quantum leap where processing power will increase like 1,000-fold, but it's gonna take still probably a few decades until we're there. Yeah. So, that's all from me. I've been rambling on a little bit. I'm sorry for it. And it's not all negative. You should also see it as a positive in a way, because if you ban a cheater, and that's a legitimate thing that I'm saying here, that's a legitimate upside of having hackers in your game or cheaters. If you ban someone that was hacking in your game, chances are they're gonna buy your game again. They're gonna buy another code in order to be able to play. So you can sell the game twice to them, because your average cheater that pays for a hack has some disposable money. Okay, they're kind of people that have a $2,000 rig with a Titan X or whatever graphics card is the best at the moment. They're having some disposable money, and if they have to, they're gonna buy another copy of your game. That's actually a legitimate source of income for you. So I'm not saying you should ban more people so you make more money. I don't think that'll work. But if you have a very small rate of false positives, it's always good to ban a cheater. All right? Yeah, that's from me. And I do feel bad for a lot of game developers that have to deal with this problem, and I do find it is sad that people have to put time and effort into it, but that's human nature. But then at the same time, I don't actually feel too bad, because Obviously, if your game is popular enough to actually have cheaters, which means that it has to be popular enough for actually someone to sit down and code a working hack or a bot for your game, which takes a lot of money, a lot of time. It probably also means that your game is really popular and you're making quite a bunch of money with it. So, see the good thing. You have cheaters, you have a popular game. You're making a lot of money, you're successful, and that's something to be happy about. Thanks for watching, and I hope this could help you deal with this issue.